Once upon a time there was a man named Tundi Afolayan, a soft-spoken mechanic in the crowded streets of Ajegunle, Lagos. Tundi wasn't rich, but he was hard-working, the kind of man who fixed people's cars even if they couldn't pay immediately. But one rainy evening, fate slammed its fist on his life. A truck veered off the road, crushed his workshop, and shattered his leg in 3 places. The hospital saved him, but the bills drowned him. Months later, he limped with a rusted crutch, the pain like nails in his bone. His savings were gone. His dream garage was gone, and with it his dignity. Then came the whispers. A Bishop Elijah Okonkwo, leader of the River of Fire Assembly, a church that filled the National Stadium, was said to heal the lame, raise the dead, and make the poor wealthy overnight. One neighbor leaned close and said, "Brothers, if you can touch that man's robe, your leg will run again." And that was how Tundi's journey into light and shadow began. Morning in Ajegunle starts noisy Okada horns, generator coughs, and the sing-song of hawkers calling akiki bread, pure water. Tundi listened from his mattress on the floor, watching a rectangle of sunlight crawl across the cracked wall. His crutch leaned where he left it, like a quiet accusation. He flexed his toes. Fire raced up his shin. He exhaled the way men do when they don't want children to hear them cry. On the door, someone tapped gently and immediately harder. "Brothers Tundi, landlord say today is the day." "Oh!" He dragged himself up, opened. The caretaker stood there with a receipt book and pity that looked like contempt. "2 months, my brother. No vex. No instruction." "I go balance Tundi said, voice small. "My work go pick again." "Which work?" The caretaker glanced at the rusted signboard that still read Afolayan Auto. The workshop lot across the road was an open wound, twisted roofing sheets, a burned-out compressor, the ghost of a life. After the caretaker left, Tundi's mother, Mama Ronki, slipped him the plastic bowl of pap in a kara, her wrapper tied high, her eyes already reading his face. "Eat before medicine," she said, placing the bowl on a stool. She had begun speaking in command since the accident. Requests took too long. "Where you get money for beans?" Tundi asked. She smiled like a soldier smiling at a bullet. "Church Widows Group. They do small contribution." He stared at the pap, guilt curdling into anger, at the truck driver, at fate, at his own fragile bone. "Mummy, I go stand again," he said, like a promise and an apology. She sat. "Zainab say make you come clinic again. She fit talk to doctor for installment payment." Zainab was their neighbor since childhood, now a nurse at the general hospital in Apapa. She was also the only one bold enough to argue with Tundi's pain. "Tell Z to save her breath," he muttered. "Doctor talk, money talk, Passam." "But," Mama began. From outside, a loudspeaker cracked to life. "Bright and insistent River of Fire Assembly welcomes you. Midweek wonders without number service. Bishop Elijah Okonkwo in person. Healings. Debt cancellation. Divine speed." The voice rode over the street like a tide. People paused. Hawkers turned their heads. Someone said, "Nah, today my matter go settle." Another replied that Bishop Day lay hands and accounts they change. Tundi's mother didn't look at him. She looked at his leg. "Let us go in here," she said softly. "But last time you stayed at home and pain still stayed with you." He laughed once without joy, but the bills were waiting there for faith felt cheaper than medicine. He swallowed pride and pap. "Okay, we go." By late afternoon, Tafawa Balewa Square looked like a human river. Buses unloaded worshippers in matching T-shirts. Boys sold chilled sachet water. Camera crews moved like hunters. Giant LED screens glowed over a stage framed in blue light. Banners screamed, "Miracles don't wait." A choir in white flooded the air with harmonies that sounded like the sky opening. Zainab found them near Gate 3, breathless, skeptical, carrying a small first aid pouch like a shield. "I told your mother, hospital first, church after." "Mama dragged me," Tundi said. She eyed the stage. "This man is not God. You day fear we go believe lies," Mama said. "But Zainab, poor man no get many doors. If this one open—" "Make we enter," Tundi finished. ashamed at how much he wanted a door to open anywhere, anyhow. An usher in a glittering sash noticed Tundee's crutch and ushered them forward with the urgency of a salesman who knows a good testimonial when he sees one. Come, come, front seat is for your miracle. He slipped a bracelet into Tundee's palm, thin braided with a small metal charm shaped like a wing. Wear it, he whispered. It's to align your faith with the bishop's mantle.
Zainab frowned. Why bracelet?
It's free, the usher said, smiling too much. Just a point of contact. Tundee hesitated. But people around him were already singing, already weeping. Therefore he slid the wing onto his wrist and told himself it was only thread and metal. When Bishop Elijah walked out, the place exhaled as if the building itself had been holding its breath. He was tall and immaculate in a white agbada with silver embroidery that caught the lights and threw them back like stars. His smile was a blessing weaponized. 2 cameras tracked him. A third floated on a crane like a curious angel. Lagos! He roared, and the crowd roared back. He didn't preach at first. He performed calm. He paced. He listened to silence like it was speaking to him. Then he said, "There's a young man here. Your right leg is a prison of pain. You once made things that move, and now you cannot move." Tundee went cold. People gasped, scanning, pointing. The usher's hand landed on Tundee's shoulder before his brain caught up. "It's you," the usher breathed, as if he'd rehearsed the line. "Go slow," Zainab hissed. "These people profile. You think you're the only man with a crutch in Lagos?" But Tundee's name was already on the bishop's tongue. "You, blue shirt, stand. What is your name?"
Tundee, he croaked.
"Bring him," the bishop said, soft as thunder. The crowd parted. Phones rose like 1,000 metal flowers. Somewhere, a drone hummed. On stage, the bishop took Tundee's hand the way fathers do in old Nollywood films, gentle, theatrical, sincere. "How long, my son?"
8 months. Business? Mechanic. Ajegwinli. Accident.
The bishop shut his eyes, tilted his head as if listening. "Your dream was to expand, buy a hydraulic lift, employ boys, feed families." Tundee's mouth fell open. Those words had lived in his heart and nowhere else. Zainab pressed her lips together, ready to shout about Facebook, data mining, stage research. But this was Lagos and the show was perfect. Therefore the crowd decided it was God. "Stretch your leg," the bishop said. He placed one palm on Tundee's knee, the other over the wing bracelet. "Some prisons are made of bone, some are made of debt. Both break the same way." He spoke a phrase in a language Tundee didn't know, something that rolled like water over stone. Heat crawled up Tundee's calf, sharp, hot, undeniable.
He gasped. "Walk," the bishop whispered.
He took one step, then another. The arena screamed as if Nigeria had just scored in the World Cup. Cameras swooped. A confetti cannon rumbled. Zainab, against her own stubborn logic, felt tears burn her eyes. Tundee walked. Then, stupid with joy, he ran. A quick, uneven trot, but real. The bishop lifted his hands. Jehovah, the restorer. In 15 minutes, Tundee's name was a hashtag. In 30, a clip of him stumbling, then running hit TikTok, Instagram, X. Friends from school he hadn't heard from in years sent voice notes with prayers and praise and ordinary envy. Strangers messaged promising seed gifts, business capital, tools. Someone tagged a popular philanthropist. Someone else offered a free hydraulic lift.
The internet crowned him Tundee the Restored.
Back home that night, the compound hummed with celebration. People brought jollof in foil, fanned in sweating bottles, loud testimonies that didn't belong to them. Mama smiled like a miracle herself. Zainab stayed long enough to say we still need scans, and short enough to avoid being the villain of a happy day. Tundee lay awake after midnight, grinning at the ceiling, the wing bracelet glinting on his wrist. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The bishop had followed him on Instagram. A DM appeared, "My son, the Lord has begun a work. Come by the office tomorrow for a private blessing, no publicity." The message was signed with a dove emoji and a sword. Tundee exhaled, a laugh catching in his throat. But when he closed his eyes, he didn't see the smiling bishop or the exploding confetti. Therefore, he didn't sleep, because what he saw instead was water, black, endless water, and a shape rising from it tall, with wings made of shimmering scales, humming in a key the human ear pretends not to know. He woke, with his hand clutching the bracelet, pulse drumming, a single thought banging in his head like a loose door in harmattan wind.
What exactly did I just touch?
By mid-morning, Lagos had turned Tundee's life inside out. His phone was heavy with notifications, calls from distant relatives, journalists requesting interviews, strangers offering business partnerships. Mama was already in the kitchen, planning a Thanksgiving feast. She hummed worship songs, her voice light with a hope Tundee hadn't heard in years. Zainab arrived without knocking, still in her nurse's scrubs, hair tied back. "We need to talk," she said, bypassing Mama's chatter and heading straight to Tundee's room. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, flexing his leg like a man trying to prove yesterday wasn't a dream. "Look at this," he said, standing, walking, bending, almost dancing. "I'm looking," Zainab replied, eyes narrow. "But miracles don't replace X-rays." He shrugged. "I'm fine. No pain. You saw it." "I also saw the bishop touch your bracelet before you felt anything." "Where's that bracelet now?" Tandi lifted his wrist. The wing charm caught the light, shimmering faintly. "He said it was to align my faith." Zainab stared at it. "That's not just metal? Did you feel heat?"
Yeah, like fire crawling up my leg.
"Fire isn't healing, Tandy. That's reaction. And reactions have causes." Before he could answer, Mama appeared at the door, holding his phone. "Message from Bishop Elijah," she said, grinning. "He says to come today, private blessing."
Zainab's eyes hardened. "Don't go."
Tandi laughed. "Why? You think he'll unheal me?" "I think he's already done something to you," she said. "You just don't see it yet." The River of Fire Assembly's administrative wing was nothing like the stadium stage chaos. It was quiet, chilled by air conditioners that hummed like bees. A young woman in a silver ghillie led Tundee down a hallway lined with framed photographs, Bishop Elijah with governors, celebrities, even a foreign ambassador. Every smile was polished. They entered a large office that smelled faintly of incense and ocean breeze. Behind a mahogany desk, Bishop Elijah rose, arms wide. "My son." Tundee knelt instinctively, but Elijah pulled him up, placing both hands on his shoulders. "No need for that. You are family now." They sat. Elijah's voice dropped to a low, almost hypnotic rhythm. "You walked yesterday, but walking is just the beginning. The Lord wants to open more doors, business, influence, protection." Tandi's heart thudded. I'd like to rebuild my workshop." "That will happen," Elijah said. "But first, you must protect the gift you've been given. Many forces will try to steal it." He opened a drawer and placed a small black feather on the desk, glossy as oil, wrapped in red thread. "This is for your pillow. Sleep with it beside your head. It keeps the healing sealed." Tandi hesitated. "It's just a feather?" "From a holy bird," Elijah said, smiling like he told a private joke. "It came from the place where miracles are born." A ripple of unease ran through Tundee, but the bishop's presence was overwhelming, like standing too close to the ocean at night. He took the feather. "Wear your bracelet always," Elijah added. "Do not remove it. And if you have dreams, write them down. They will guide you."
That night, Tandi dreamed again.
He was standing on the edge of the Lagos Lagoon, the third mainland bridge arching in the distance like a giant's arm. The water shimmered under a moon that felt too close. Something broke the surface, a figure rising, taller than a man, with wings made of black feathers tipped in silver light. Its face was hidden in shadow, but its voice wrapped around him.
"My son, you belong to the water now."
Tandi woke, gasping, his hand on the feather beside his pillow. It was damp, cold as if it had just come from the sea. By the third day, his life felt like a celebration parade. Donations poured in. A local radio station aired his testimony. His face appeared on flyers for the church's upcoming night of open gates. But in the middle of the applause, Zainab kept her distance. When she finally visited, her tone was blunt. I did some digging, she said, tossing a folded printout onto his table. It was an old newspaper clipping. Missing woman's miracle claim ends in mystery. The photo showed a smiling lady holding a cane, the caption reading Amaka Obi, healed at River of Fire Assembly, vanished 2 months later.
Tandi frowned. What's this supposed to mean?
There are at least 5 cases like hers, Sinab said. They all had public miracles. They all got gifts from the bishop, a ring, a scarf, a carved stone, and they all disappeared. He shook his head. You think he's killing people? That's insane. She leaned forward. Do you know where the bishop goes after midnight services? No. I found a driver who used to work for him. He said the bishop visits the lagoon every week. Same spot off Carter Bridge. Tandi laughed nervously. Plenty pastors pray by water. Plenty pastors don't come back smelling of salt and singing in a language nobody knows, she shot back. 2 nights later, Zainab called at 1:30 a.m. I'm at the spot, she whispered. Carter Bridge underpass near the fishermen's shacks. He's here. Tandi sat up, heart pounding. You're following him?
I'm watching. He's not alone.
Her voice trembled slightly. Tandi, I think you should see this yourself. But you won't like it. In the background, he could hear water slapping against wooden hulls, a faint humming, and then a sound that didn't belong to night or to Lagos, the beating of wings, huge and heavy, as if the sky itself was trying to take flight. Tandi arrived at the Carter Bridge underpass in a borrowed kiki, heart hammering, the lagoon breeze damp on his face. Zainab waved him over from behind a stack of fishing nets, her eyes wide in the dim moonlight.
Stay low, she whispered.
Beyond the nets, the water stretched black and endless, broken only by the reflection of bridge lights. On a small wooden jetty stood Bishop Elijah, but not as Tandi had ever seen him. Gone was the polished agbada. He wore a robe of dark feathers that glistened as if wet. Around him, 3 robed figures knelt, holding shallow bowls that smoked with something bitter and metallic. Elijah's voice rolled out low and strange, in a tongue that curled and twisted like water currents. The surface of the lagoon began to ripple, not from wind, but from something pushing upward.
Then it came.
A shape rose from the deep, wings like a giant bird, with a body half human, half shadow, eyes glinting with an inhuman sheen. The creature's feathers dripped water as it stepped onto the jetty, towering over Elijah. It extended one wing, and the bishop bowed low, pressing his forehead to it like a child to a parent. Zainab's grip tightened on Tandi's arm. That's no angel. Elijah lifted a small bundle from one of the bowls, cloth-wrapped, moving slightly. A muffled whimper leaked into the night.
A child, Zainab breathed.
The creature bent, talons curling, and Elijah whispered, Accept this, O keeper of the waters. Let your wind carry our name to the corners of the earth. The bundle was lowered toward the lagoon. Tandi's stomach clenched. Without thinking, he stepped forward. Stop! The word cracked the night. The robed figures spun. Elijah's head snapped toward him, and for a moment the bishop's eyes gleamed pure silver. You came, Elijah said almost gently. Good. The wing chose well. You're killing people, Tandi shouted. You used me. The bishop smiled. No, my son. I elevated you. But elevation has a price. He gestured, and the robed figures moved toward Tandi. Zainab stepped in front of him, pulling a small bottle from her pouch. One more step, and I'll pour this on all of you, she warned.
Elijah laughed softly. Anointing oil won't bind the wind.
From the lagoon, the winged creature spread its feathers wide, shaking droplets that hissed where they touched the wooden jetty. The water behind it surged higher, licking the pier. The child whimpered again. Tandi's leg throbbed, not from pain, but from a force tugging upward toward the lagoon. The bracelet on his wrist felt hot, almost branding him. His thoughts swirled, thick and heavy. Then Zainab's voice cut through. Tandi, the bracelet, take it off. He looked down at the wing charm, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Elijah saw the hesitation, and his smile faltered. Don't, the bishop said, voice suddenly sharp. Without it, you return to your prison. Tandi clenched his teeth, heart pounding. His mother's face flashed in his mind, his ruined workshop, his dreams, and the black water that wanted to swallow them all.
He yanked the bracelet off.
The moment it left his skin, the heat vanished, and so did the pull. Elijah's face twisted with rage. The winged creature let out a screech that made the bridge lights flicker. Tundi hurled the bracelet into the lagoon. "If this is your god," he shouted, "I choose mine." The water exploded upward, spraying all of them. The robed figures fell back. The child's bundle slipped from Elijah's grasp, rolling toward the nets. Zainab lunged and caught it, cradling the sobbing boy. The creature stepped fully onto the pier now, towering, feathers bristling. It lunged toward Tundi, but a gust of warm, dry wind, impossible at the water's edge, rushed past him, scattering the bitter smoke from the bowls. Somewhere beyond the bridge, a church bell began to ring. Elijah's smile was gone now. His robe clung wetly to him, and for the first time his eyes darted, not in command, but in fear. "Tundi," Zainab said, backing toward the shore with the child, "we have to finish this now." The bell kept ringing, slow, deliberate, echoing over the lagoon like a warning to the night itself. The winged creature hissed and shrank back, its feathers shuddering under the invisible weight of the sound. Elijah staggered, clutching his chest, muttering in that strange, rolling language. Tundi took a step forward, his voice steadier than he thought possible. "You called it power," he said, eyes locked on Elijah. "But it's a chain, and I'm breaking it." Zainab knelt by the nets, unwrapping the bundle. The boy inside couldn't have been more than 6. His eyes darted wildly, but when he saw Tundi, he stilled, as if he recognized safety for the first time that night. The church bell grew louder, joined now by faint singing from the far shore. Not the roaring choirs of River of Fire Assembly, but something simpler, older Yoruba hymns carried by the night wind. The winged thing let out one last piercing cry, then retreated into the water, its form dissolving into the ripples until nothing remained but the dark, restless lagoon. Elijah dropped to his knees, gasping. "You don't understand. They promised me the city. They promised me the world." Tundi shook his head. "They gave you nothing you didn't steal from others." He turned away, helping Zainab lift the boy. "We're done here." News of the lagoon ritual had spread faster than anyone could contain it. Footage Zainab had managed to record from her phone leaked online. Shaky, grainy, but damning. It showed enough. The robed figures, the bowls of smoke, Elijah on the pier. Even without the creature in clear view, the sight chilled millions. Police sealed River of Fire Assembly within days. Former members came forward with their own stories, gifts they'd been given, dreams they couldn't shake, loved ones who vanished after miracles. A list began to form. Not 3, not 5, but over 20 names. Mama Ronki sat in the living room when the first television report aired, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. She reached for Tundi's hand. "You've done what many men wouldn't," she said. "But it will not end here. These people, they hide in other churches, in other robes." Tundi nodded. "Then we keep looking." Zainab stood at the window, the evening light casting long shadows on her face. "We expose one," she said. "But Lagos is full of altars we don't see until it's too late." "We'll see them," Tundi said. "We'll drag them into the light." Outside, children's laughter floated in from the street, mixing with the distant hum of Danville buses. The city was still alive, still restless, still moving, but something in its pulse felt changed. When the boy they'd rescued, Amika, finally spoke, it was in whispers at first. His mother's cry when they were reunited was the kind of sound you don't forget. By month's end, a small group had formed. Tundi, Zainab, Mama Ronki, Amika's mother, and a handful of others who'd lost someone to a miracle gone dark. They met quietly in different parts of the city, compiling names, stories, evidence. They called themselves the Lanterns. Not because they believed they could chase away all the shadows, but because even one small light can ruin the night for those who hide in it. The first meeting ended with Tundi standing, the same way he had on stage that day. Except now, there were no cameras, no confetti, no performance. "Faith," he said, "isn't about who can shout the loudest. It's about standing in the truth even when the truth burns." No one clapped. No one needed to. They understood. And somewhere in the silence between the streets and the lagoon, Lagos listened.
The small hall in Yaba smelled faintly of old wood and rain.
Dirty plastic chairs faced a simple table where the lantern sat, papers and files spread before them. There was no stage, no colored lights, just people who had seen darkness up close and lived to speak about it. Tondi stood slowly, Bible in hand. His limp was almost gone now, but the memory of it was etched into every step. He looked at the faces before him. Mothers, brothers, children, each carrying a story. He opened to Ephesians 5 verse 11 and read aloud, voice steady. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. He let the words hang in the air before continuing. That is why we're here. We are not here to gossip. We are not here to shame for sport. We are here because evil hid under a cross and thought no one would notice. But God always notices.
A murmur of agreement rippled through the room.
Zainab stepped forward, placing a hand on Tundi's shoulder. We saw what happened at the lagoon, she said. We saw how close we came to losing another child. The Bible says in John 8, verse 32, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. We will keep speaking the truth until no one else is taken. Mama Ronki, eyes shining, rose from her seat. And we will remember Psalm 27, verse 1, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Because fear is what they use to keep us quiet. That fear is gone.
They bowed their heads in a moment of prayer. Outside, Lagos traffic roared, but inside it was still.
Tondi prayed softly, Lord, thank you for pulling us out of the deep waters. Thank you for making us see that your miracles don't need bracelets, feathers, or shadows. Your word says in Isaiah 59, verse 19, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Lord, make us that standard.
A chorus of amen filled the room. When they stepped out into the fading evening, the air felt lighter, the streets warmer. Somewhere beyond the city's skyline, the lagoon reflected the last light of day. Tondi paused and looked at it, not with fear, but with resolve.
Turning to the group, he said, we keep moving. We keep shining. We keep watch. Because 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14 reminds us Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. And as long as that happens, we will keep the lanterns burning.
The others nodded. That night, Tondi updated their blog with a final post for the week. No altar built on lies will stand forever. No shadow can erase the light.
Lagos, keep your eyes open and your faith in the one who works in truth. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1, verse 7-inch.
He hit publish, closed the laptop, and looked out over the city. The neon lights blinked. The air was thick with life. Somewhere far away, a bell rang, not as a warning this time, but like a call. And Tondi whispered to himself, the light always wins.
Thanks for watching this story all the way to the end. You're amazing for staying with us. If you enjoyed this video, don't stop here. We've got plenty more stories just like this one waiting for you. Simply click on one of the videos popping up on your screen right now and keep the journey going. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next upload. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep the stories alive.